Nowadays, there are countless ways to control your Nintendo Switch. Adapters alone mean you can hook up just about anything. But when it comes to third-party wireless controllers, 8Bitdo has been leading the charge. They've been mostly making classic-style controllers, and they'll even work on far more than just a Switch. But I think this is the first model to really go head-to-head with the official Switch Pro controller. Compared to some of their other models, this new one seems to be really aimed for all game styles, not just classics. This is a full-size controller with well-defined triggers, full-size sticks, and even a removable battery. You'll also get these side handles that, I admit, do look a bit weird sticking out of a SNES pad, but they are comfortable and they match where your fingers will be anyway, so you get the same feel with a better grip. And features-wise, this does exceed the official Switch Pro controller in a few areas. For one, it offers real analog triggers, along with some fine-tuning for both the sticks and triggers. And you'll even be able to fully remap all the buttons and even make macros. And you have a few colors to pick from, so it looks way less boring than the official Pro controller. There are some other nice improvements as well, but many of these come down to personal preference. For example, if you're a fan of the PlayStation controller layout with both sticks side by side, then you may actually prefer this over the Pro controller. Sure, the button placement's a little bit different as the controller face is meant to replicate a SNES pad, but it's still pretty close. And it mirrors the SNES pad perfectly, from the size of the L and R buttons, even down to the grippy texture on the D-pad. And man, this D-pad is fantastic. Nintendo finally got around to improving their D-pad on the Revision C Pro controllers, but I've still found it to be just a little too oversensitive. Even the Sn30 Pro 2 had everyone raving about just how great the D-pad was, and while I did love it for 2D platformers, I found, just like with the new Pro controllers, it's a little bit too sensitive for action puzzle games. I was fine like 90% of the time, but in the worst possible moments, I get random diagonal inputs, and it would just really mess me up. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy and too picky, but this new model's D-pad is near flawless. It has much better feedback than the Switch Pro or any of the other models I've tested, and it really responds like a brand new SNES controller, with a perfect level of precision and responsiveness. And again, personal preference, but I'm not a huge fan of how the function buttons are arranged on the Pro controller. I always feel like the home and capture are way too close to start and select. Even owning this for a few months, I still hit them by mistake. I much more prefer the raised start and select buttons and having the function buttons moved out of the way. Also, the 8Bitdo start button is the only way to power on the controller. This may seem like a con, but if you leave your controller in a bag or even on the floor, you'll know that even the slightest tap can wake it up and connect it automatically. And finally, while this controller is rechargeable, offering up to about 20 hours, you can remove the battery pack and run it off a standard pair of AA's. You can't charge standard batteries with this, but it's still a nice backup option. So again, this controller has a lot of neat enhancements, but the official Switch Pro controller still has some clear advantages. For one, the 8Bitdo can't wirelessly wake your Switch. I'm starting to think this is a feature reserved for licensed Nintendo controllers, and maybe uses some copyrighted code or something, so I don't think we'll see that offered anytime soon. Sure, if you had an 8Bitdo receiver lying around, you could just pair with that, as this adapter can power on your Switch via USB, but it's really not worth buying an adapter just for that feature. Also, while the 8Bitdo works in wired and wireless mode, you can't quick pair by simply plugging in a USB cable. I guess you could use a USB cord to get yourself to the pairing screen, but it's still a bit of a pain to manually pair up with each new Switch. The gyro controls work great on this controller, and it supports rumble, but no true HD rumble or NFC support here. And finally, as cool as the analog triggers are, hardly any games actually support them, so many people may actually prefer the shorter travel on the Switch Pro. Button and stick remapping sounds like a really cool idea in concept. If you want to flip your entire controller, there's nothing stopping you, and I'm sure there's at least one game you can think of with a really weird control scheme. With remapping, you can simply fix that. However, this feature is extremely hampered by the fact you can only use one profile. If you could at least store two, you could toggle to your alt set whenever you wanted to play a specific game. It would be great, but when you only have one, you have to pick a setup and stick with it. You can make multiple profiles in the app, but you'll need access to a Windows PC every time you wanted to switch. If they simply had a dedicated button or switch for profiles, this feature would be incredible, or even the addition of dedicated macro buttons like some other controllers have. But at the end of the day, this is really 8BitDo's first attempt at adding some advanced features. And even with its issues, I'd argue it's still the most advanced Switch controller on the market. But the thing is, not everyone needs the extras this provides, and there's some trade-offs too. For some people, they just want a simple controller that works. And if you can only afford one controller and you don't care much about D-pad precision or the SNES layout, I'd say go with the official Pro controller. But if you really like the changes and want a controller that works great for both classic and modern games, maybe the Pro Plus is the controller for you. Anyway, that's all for now. If you want to pick up any of these controllers, I'll have links in the description. All controllers in this video were purchased outright, no review samples here. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.